Serrano and Jose Melendez coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Here on the Comic Culture Warrior YouTube channel, we have just reviewed Batman number 687 by Judd Winnick and Ed Benes, and have given it a hearty A-OK. Next up, we look at JSA versus Kobra by Eric Trautmann and Don Kramer. I'm a big Eric Trautmann fan. He wrote Checkmate for the longest time.
Co-wrote Checkmate.
Co-wrote Checkmate with Greg Rucka. And then I think he was taking it over there a little bit near the end.
A little bit more so, yeah. And then, but the last story arc, neither of them did, and that one wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But this book actually takes place right after the last good story arc of Checkmate.
Again, ignore the crap.
And Don Kramer was also an artist on Checkmate also.
So you have an intriguing setup here. It's JSA versus Kobra, and I'm gonna first be honest. I am not as up on Kobra as I should be. I was a huge fan of Kobra back in the late '70s when the Kobra book came out. You had Johnny Double and Kobra and his twin brother Jason, and that whole soap opera-ish move. And this was before Kobra was a part of the regular DC universe. Mm-hmm. That's when Kobra was more kind of like a spy book. And I liked it. It was really cool. And then Keith Giffen came along and turned Kobra kind of into a joke, which kind of like annoyed me because I thought Kobra was a really cool character. Back to being cool again in this book here, especially when you have Eric Trautmann playing again, as you said, the Checkmate angle. Spies and counterintelligences and intelligence groups, and Kobra as a leader of a cult. Mm-hmm. And cults are big now because what do cults lead to? Suicide squads. I even love the title of this first chapter, which is Bad Religion, where near the end of this particular issue, Trautmann explains why he called it that. Mm-hmm. Very good book. A really good book, especially seeing the JSA in a slightly different tone. A slightly different tone. They're not just superheroes going out busting heads. Mm-hmm. You know, they're kind of, again, having to be kind of like, again, they're in this chess game of intelligence and counterintelligence and trying to fight. You have to fight a villain now that you can't solve. You can't beat the villain by just socking him in the head.
Right. In the last good storyline of Checkmate actually saw the resurgence of Kobra, and it took Checkmate, the JSA, and the JLA all to take Kobra down, or in that storyline.
Right.
So now it's just the JSA. Mr. Terrific still is the White King of Checkmate, and there's just Sasha Bordeaux is only in it at the very beginning.
But she was taken over by the Anti-Life equation in Final Crisis, right?
Right. So she's kind of like, they don't know what's going to happen with her, but she was the Black Queen.
And she's off the board, as they say.
Right.
Really a very solid book. There's a lot going on here as far as internal monologue within Mr. Terrific's head. Mm-hmm. And there's another unseen narrator that's also speaking, which you kind of have to assume, we believe it's Kobra.
Right.
You know, we think but for all I know, Eric Trautmann's got, some clever thing up his sleeve. Mm-hmm. But we never really, we could see him, we might not, but really smart book, especially drawing on a lot of modern themes. Yes. Again, back to religions, suicide bombers, things that people will do because they believe in a God that wants them to kill all non-believers. How do you fight someone like that?
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult. And these are some pretty heady themes that Trautmann's taking on in this book. I'm really intrigued to see how he resolves this whole plot line.
I'm so happy that this book is coming out, because after Checkmate was canceled, it totally just left this vacuum that there's for this political thriller. And this just fills a vacuum perfectly. I mean, it basically is just a continuation of the Checkmate series, except that's not called Checkmate. And I would like to see a series of miniseries, because the Don Kramer art in here is probably some of the best stuff I've seen him do in a long time. It's really solid art, and the writing is just great. if you guys don't like the JSA, the JSA in this book feels really different because it's more them in the real world.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas I read the other JSA book and I like it, but the last JSA story arc had to do with Magog, right? And with JSA, so it's like kind of like them dealing with this god character, and it's very, very comic booky in some certain aspects. But then you have them in here, and it's all the same characters, but it's just a different tone altogether.
Especially with the way how Power Girl is used. I mean, she becomes kind of the de facto leader here.
Yeah.
Because Mr.
Well,
Terrific...
she kind of is the leader. She's supposed to be kind of de facto leader, but they don't... But I've never seen her be this badass in the regular JSA book.
That's right. She is badass here.
Yeah.
And especially in the beginning where she's saying, look, we can't... These guys hit us where we live. They came to our home and they hit us here. Who are we to let them get away with that? And yeah, she does come across as really badass. So... in the hands of a good writer, just like Jeff Parker does with Namora in Agents of Atlas, Eric Trautmann really knows how to handle Kara here in JSA Kobra, just as Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray do in the Power Girl title. So, although in the Power Girl title it's more of a humorous bent,
exactly.
Here,
but this is just
she's
like
a little more serious.
Right.
And even overall, when you look at the art, you talk about Kramer's artwork, the coloring and everything has a much darker tone to it.
There's a lot of good grittiness to it and the feel to it. Let me see if I can pick up the good pages to show you guys because the art in here is just great.
Oh yeah, that page right there is really good. Oh, even that showed the splash even earlier on where the suicide bomb. That is a great page. That is a really good page. So again, this is the DC is putting together some really. It's funny. It's some really top-notch stuff with... I mean, I don't mean to call the JSA a second-tier character, but the JSA is not the JLA.
Right.
They're taking these characters and really elevating them to a level that I would like to see the top-tier characters go to. You know, who knows? Well, once they figure out all that crap with JLA, hopefully the JLA will be good again.
Hopefully.
All right. So that's that. When we come back, yet another title... for your approval. Hope to see you then.